5,
4,
3,
2,
1. Hi, Tribe. I'm Evelyn.
And I'm Virsaviya.
And you're listening to Objectively Typed, a podcast where we explore the objective personality system. This episode is going to be a little bit different from our normal typing someone or discussion type episode. We were able to get together a group of, 8 masculine TeOP typed ladies, so kind of a women's roundtable, just to talk about our experiences of having masculine TE. It was a really great discussion. We had people, some folks were EJs, so they had that masculine TE right at the top. We had some EPs where the masculine TE might have been the second or third function. But so after this little intro, you'll hear the audio from that call. And we'll also include a link in the show notes to the YouTube video, so you can see that too. Anything else you want to say before we switch to that, Virsaviya?
No, I think that about covers it.
All right. Well,
enjoy, guys.
Enjoy. It was really fun.
It was.
Quick was that basically after talking to Monica, when she did her interview with Benjamin, I was like, it would be so awesome to get a group of us like masculine TE. I think we're all masculine TE, but masculine TE, masculine FE women together, and just number one, have a group where we can start discussing things. So we did that. And then also have a little Zoom chat where we kind of do like a round table type panel type discussion. And I know Virsaviya has been interested in kind of exercising her interview muscles a little bit, I'll say. And so it seemed like a great opportunity. I was like, oh, Virsaviya, I got a great idea for you if you want to do interviewing. Why don't we bring all these women together and you be the moderator and we'll just do like a panel type discussion. So that's kind of the thought here, so we could share our experiences and go from there. Yeah. So V, did you want to start us off any other formal way, or?
Well, I wanted, I guess, for anybody who would be watching this and doesn't know our type, and just like a one word about ourselves, if we want to just go around and everyone like, what's your name, what's your type, and anything else that you want to share.
Okay.
I know everyone loves those introductions. Everyone's favorite part.
And then I'll do the trick. Years and years of WebEx meetings. I'll go down the participant panel, and so when I say your name, please say your type and your role in this meeting. No, I'm kidding. What group are you from is what we usually do. So yeah, like a one word about yourself. So the first one actually is Virsaviya on mine.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm Virsaviya. In case you've seen my name but don't know how to pronounce that, that's how you pronounce it. I'm SEFI, double masculine, SEFI, consume, sleep, blast, play. Yeah, that's it. Next.
A word about yourself?
Nothing? A word about myself. I'm really excited for this Zoom call because even though I have masculine TE as a demon, it is such a powerful force in my life that I'm excited to chat with other women who experience it as well.
Right. So true.
All right, next up is Heather.
Okay, I'm Heather. I'm a double masculine, SeTe, play, consume, blast, sleep. And I really need to work on my sleep some more, and I have been considering grad school for a couple of months now.
Nice. Cool. Monica, excuse me.
I am Monica. I am FM, TeNe, blast, play, consume. I'd like to say that I think I was always a little bit put off by other like masculine TE women. My like kind of the family I grew up in and everything was sort of like, oh, watch over her, like, you know what I mean? So I think I was a little maybe like intimidated or something, but after being typed, I actually said to Shan, I'm like, I'm realizing like I need more masculine TE women in my life. And that's when Evelyn and I talked, and Evelyn's like, let's make a group. We know where to find them. So yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah, cool. So I'm going to try this. Minna.
Minna.
Well, okay.
Whatever, it doesn't matter.
Sure.
Minna. And
Minna.
FM, SeTe, play, consume, blast is my type. And I'm a weird cat woman from Finland.
Awesome. And then Shan.
Oh, okay. Let's see. I am. Goddamn.
You should know this.
I know. Like my feminine sensory just went like whoosh. Like I am feminine sensory. FM, TE, SE, like sleep, blast, last.
I'm so glad you guys are doing this. I think this is fantastic because just what Monica was saying there, like the crazy thing about all of this stuff is like when you see people from the outside and when you're kind of just looking at the wall of humans, right? And you're not really, you don't know their darkness, you don't know their light. And as soon as you start seeing the map of their mind and then what the map of your mind is, being able to care, love, own their darkness, your own darkness, it creates this incredible bond of humanity where you're like, I know what I struggle with. And, you know, usually the natural fear is like other masculine females, like, oh my God, how would I go up against that? You know, of course, I think of it in a tribe way as well. Then like the ability to then be able to go, oh my God, that connects us, that makes us be able to share the same struggles, the same path. And it becomes this amazingly beautiful thing where you're now able to connect to humans on such a deeper level. So thank you so much for doing this. It's great.
Anita?
Hi. So I'm the most introverted of the ESTJs, BSC. I was telling somebody in the group today who's getting typed right now. She thinks she's BSC. And I was telling her, you know, we're even more rare than the INFJs in the group for special snowflakes. So yeah, I spend far too much time writing and making infographics and reading about Jungian psychology and typology and all of that. So that pretty much sums up a lot of what I do. So
Cool. Cool. I love your infographics, by the way.
Me too.
I know, me too.
They're so awesome. Lindsay?
Hey guys, so Lindsay, FM, NiTe, last play, sleep, consume last. And I am committed to being the world's best FE person with masculine TE. That's my goal. Anyone is welcome to join me on the journey, but a big piece of me learning this stuff. So
Yeah.
Nice.
that's the thing.
And then this is Evelyn. I'm double masculine, NeTe, play, consume, blast, sleep. I'm also a special snowflake, Anita. I'm the only one of my type thus far. Kind of next to Phil DeFranco, but not Phil DeFranco. And yeah, I'm just excited to bring these ladies together and see, compare notes on our experiences. I'm glad we have a nice wide range of more introverted types and more extroverted types. We got the lead plays and last sleeps. So yeah, I'm excited. I'm glad that all of us were able to make it today. So yeah.
Yeah, I was just looking at everyone's type, and almost everyone is blast or play, which makes sense because I'm the only one who doesn't have the MTE as the savior. But almost everyone, like 5 of the 8 of us, are lead play, actually. So this is going to be interesting, an interesting chat.
Keep us in line. And
because we're all like play and blast, right? All of us have either play or blast as our double masculine function animal. So this is going to be a lot of fun.
I actually was talking to my partner who's double feminine, TINE, and I was telling him about it. And I was like, I'm kind of interested to just see, like, can we take turns talking, or like who ends up just like talking the whole time? Please don't let it be me. And like, and just like, I'm really fascinated to kind of see how it is with just a group of, I guess, like-minded or TE people.
Yeah, I think I told Monica that when I first, was throwing this out there, I didn't expect us immediately to say like, yeah, let's get together this weekend and do this. Cause I thought, are we just going to eat each other like velociraptors first, or like what's going to happen? So,
yeah, this turnaround time is inside a week.
Yeah.
Like we're all really excited, clearly.
Getting things done. Come on.
Yeah.
Play first, man. Play first.
Nice.
Yeah, exactly.
So I guess to kind of start us off, the thing that brought us all here together, just like a very open question, is like, how do you see that masculine TE, because we don't have any masculine FEs on this call, showing up in your life? Like, how do you see it? If anybody wants to take that and just jump right in.
I can start. That's really, really good. That's definitely something that I've been processing for the last decade of just, oh my God, like, because the journey is sort of like you start off going from like nothingness, where you don't realize what impact your extroverted decider has on the world. You're like, I'm not sure. I don't understand why the world would react this way. Maybe it's them. Like you're just having this sort of like bizarre reaction to people. And it feels like you had these like boxing gloves on and just completely unaware of it. Like just going around like this and your brain is not attached to your hands or something like that, you know? And then you go from the like, okay, wait a minute. This is coming from me, the aggression, the sharpness, and it doesn't matter how intense it is or dialed down it is. There, from what I can see of like, if you take the spectrum, right, all the way from like masculine TE all the way down to like, I don't know, feminine FI, and seeing the difference of how it's just there's no softening on the edges of the TE. It's like, this is what is true. And there's nothing like just sharp edges, like everything that you're saying, even if you're saying it soft, even if you're saying it nice, it's still like a straight punch. And the rest of the world is just sort of like, oh, okay. Just seeing how much like owning the darkness of that, as well as like the power of that. And then being able to accept the dark and accept the light. And then choosing to be like, okay, now that I have that, now that I own that, how can I 1%, like what Lindsay was saying, like, how can I 1% add some feeling onto the edges of this sharpness? Because I do want to get a goal. I do want to get a job done. How can I actually send this email with some damn emojis in there or something, you know, like, how do I soften this? Hello, what time will you be there? You know, it's like a very aggressive, like, I just want to get the job done. Can we just get the job done? To like, okay, if somebody did that to me, I would be like, whoa, you know, how can I soften the message?
Yeah,
Therefore,
I think.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Well, I think like it was before I got my type, I emailed you about, I was like, how do you deal with having masculine TE? Because I was like, I know you haven't typed me yet, but I'm like 99% sure I have this, just because like it for me in my life, it has always been, it's been sometimes a problem. Like it's been like, I speak my truth, I speak my mind, I'm not afraid to.
Right.
And not everybody wants to hear that. Like not everybody's there for it. Not everybody wants you to do it. And I kind of, and this is why I was really interested in bringing women together, because I feel like as women, especially,
oh yeah,
nobody, or it's not that nobody, right? It's that like the society sort of isn't set up for women who have this and who, especially in a savior state like I do,
totally.
That come with it. And that's why like early on, I was like, well, how do I deal with this? Like I remember listening to, what is her name? Robbins. Somebody help me. Mel Robbins. Thank you. Mel Robbins. Cause she was talking about this, about how she had to turn off, cause she was like a lawyer or something originally. And it was like, she would go home and continue that like lawyerly way of speaking to her family. Yes. And they were just like, whoa, stop. And I'm the same way. I'm a manager at work. Like I bang, bang, bang. And then I would come home at dinner time and keep bang, bang, banging. Right. And I was like, how do I slow that down? So yeah.
Yeah, totally. It's an intense weapon. And it's like, I mean, you know, when we have our spectrum, if we're looking at humans, right, the TE, the masculine TE is all the way on this side. So you have this intense weapon and it's like, great, here you go. Oh, I'm sorry, you didn't want that? Well, you don't get to choose. And now it's just being like, okay, great. What do I do with that? Because it's not, oh shit, I don't want this. You know, I don't want this weapon. It's like, you have this power, now use it. And then sometimes it means you're going to have to dial it down. Sometimes it means you have to pour some flowers on it, you know, color it pink. I don't know, just in some way, shape or form, being able to move. And here's the key, be able to move to the feminine FI that you're used to protecting. And like, nobody can mess with this, and like, let it share it vulnerable. That's been the thing that's been hard for me to do over the years. Share my laughter, share my love, share my heart. And I practice it knowing it might get stabbed, and I let the TE like stand back. I'm like, it's not your turn. It's the FI's turn. So, you know, stuff like that.
That's really good. That's really hard.
It is hard, huh?
Just like letting that little girl like stand out there all by herself.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
I think, I mean, I have the FFI as a savior, and even I struggle with that tremendously, where that MTE is very much an armor that I wear in order to protect that FFI, because it is so movable and it is so reactive that like, if I don't have that masculine TE to protect it, how is it going to protect itself?
Yes. So good. That's so true.
Yeah, I don't know if other people feel it the same way, but for me, the feminine FI, it's like when it gets hit, it moves and it just keeps on moving. The momentum just lasts until it's done. It keeps bouncing all over the place until it's gone. So also the lack of control of it has been to me a problem, since it's easier to contain it with the TE.
Yeah.
Right.
When I first got my type and I started really focusing on my FI, it was like riding a crazy emotional roller coaster. Like that's what it felt like. Like it's just gonna go, it's gonna do its thing, but it's introverted, so it's mine. So I don't really want the tribe to affect it, but of course the tribe does. Like, yeah, I can relate to that.
So I mean, well, I'd be curious to hear. So how do you guys, what have you learned or what have you been doing in terms of like creating more space for that FI, if you're able to, rather than letting the MTE own the conversation, so to speak?
Right. That's really good. Maybe we go in a thing.
Yeah.
Do we all see the same thing though?
No, someone's gonna have to tell us.
Yeah.
Lindsay, you look like you had something to say.
Yeah, so I think for my FI, I mean, I've definitely been very much focused on my FI, like in the past few months, in order to be able to FE better. And so I'm like, well, I have to know how I actually feel about the situation in order to be able to FE with it, if it like regarded another person. And so one of the biggest things for me has been, you know, allowing for the time for the sleep energy, for the processing of it, and just being more conscious that that time is required versus, okay, like I took like a few seconds, like that's cool. But like sometimes it's like, you actually have to think about it a little bit more than that. And like for me too, if like if I encounter something and it doesn't really, I gauge its importance a lot. And so if I'm like, okay, there was an emotion, but it's not important to right now, just acknowledging something as, well, this is important and let me save it for later when I can maybe like marinate on it more. And so just being conscious of that process has helped me a lot to tune into my FI more, and then also really help me see, well, there's a few things I put into practice to be able to FI better. But really asking myself, you know, is this really important to me? Is this really something that I like? Like, am I actually okay liking this, you know? And the Kristen Leo class was really huge for me with that because, you know, she has the masculine CE. And when Dave and Shannon were talking about her sometimes, I remember Shannon was like, she's talking about this stuff. She doesn't even like this stuff. And I was like, oh my gosh, do I do that? And then I was like, yeah, I think I do. And for me, I was like, I don't want to be like that. Like I want, you know, to be representing my FI in a good way. So that was some ideas.
That was really good.
Yeah. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
That's helping me understand a little more of that, like, you know, the part where you guys are all acting from the thinking before you get to the feeling. Whereas for me, like not knowing how I feel about something, like, well, no, I always know. But understanding that other side of it is really helpful. Anybody else want to jump in, especially maybe people we haven't heard from yet?
Creativity is an important way to approach FI for me. So I write pretty much every day, including at work. So people often pick up pretty well on both my NE and FI through that. Also, you know, the infographics I do purely for fun as also a way to expend play. Because I don't have play, my challenges are different than I think what a lot of you are saying, because my sleep is a lot like the Sam Sheepdog, Looney Tunes character. You guys are probably too young. I used him in my infographic the other day. Where
okay, that's what that was. I recognized it. I recognized it, but I couldn't place it. Yeah.
You know those cartoons with the wolf, and he's supposed to, you know, keep the wolves away. And it looks like he's not doing anything. and the wolf will get away with it, but you know, he's right there. So for me, my TE is a little bit different in the sense it's very much about efficiency, very much about clarity, very much about empathy. I think constantly, how will our customers react to this? Or how will somebody on Instagram view this? I got to make sure, you know, it's clear. So speed is a very much of a component, and then meeting deadlines. I'm pretty much the type of person that if you give me something to do, it'll get done. Nobody has to worry when they know that I'm in charge of it. So it's a little bit more different than what you guys are saying. In the meeting, you know, the feedback about me is that I'm not outspoken, you know, I'm not shovey, I'm too soft spoken. So you know, my spin on it is a little different, which is why I'm more the lowercase MM, where I have to kind of force myself to be vocal, and I use actually my FI and NE considerably for that, to the point where a lot of, you know, there's been a number of people over the years that kind of type me through my blog posts or my writing at work. You know, I had a couple people come up to me at work to read my e-newsletter at work. You know, are you an INFJ? And so I kind of lean very heavily on that to express myself much more than I use my TE to express myself. So, if that makes sense.
So believe it or not, lead play, I've gotten a similar feedback at work. And I think it's my consume, because at least like a lot of times in a meeting setting, I need to consume before I feel ready to blast. And so my blast can be pretty slow. You guys hear me do it here because I know this stuff. I'm very comfortable, you know, and I'm kind of in a play state. But I had a manager, a manager give me that feedback like years and years ago of like, I know you've got good ideas going and you never speak up and say anything. You're always just sitting in the back. And I'm always like, really? Like, I feel like I'm so out there, but it's that consume. I need to consume first. And then I think
that's part of it for me. I'm also, you know, the shadow side of TE is TI. TI might be the thing I'm afraid of the most. It's like, I don't have enough details. You know, when the details police come after me, like in a meeting or something, if I don't already know the answer, that's really rattling for me. You know, I've learned to say, okay, is it okay if I get back to you? And I do that, but it's hard. So I do have a lot of, you know, like in the 8 function model, for TI would be considered the opposing personality to the hero function of TE. So that push and pull. So yeah, I get scared of TI and even of SI. Because, details. You know, I'd like to stay in la la land a lot more. But in the corporate world, you can't do that, although I sneak it in as much as I can, my infographics and stuff. So,
Anita, what do you do? I was listening to you earlier and I realized I don't know.
In the corporate world, I'm a customer experience data analyst. So I have the pulse on everything that our customers are complaining about or singing our praises about. So I'm listening to all the survey comments they leave in the voicemails, the email surveys. I gather all that together, and then I distill all that into infographics, charts, reports that show the trends, and so it involves a lot of design thinking. I don't know if you're familiar with what that is. Making process improvements based on empathy for the customer and also the frontline staff. So I'm constantly surveying the climate of how will our customers react? How will the reps that answer the phone be able to, you know? So that's where my TE really comes into play. So
I'm doing software. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I said I'm doing software, and one of my classes last semester was very focused on what you're doing, but in the software industry. Very much like sort of gathering information from all the stakeholders and like sort of distilling that down into how processes need to change. And like everyone hated this class, and I was like, where do I get this job? Like, where is it? Like somebody help me find this job. This is the one that's for me. Like,
was it Lean Six Sigma?
No, it wasn't specifically that. It was made by somebody in the industry who's a teacher at the college, but it was super interesting. I did want to mention, you guys were talking about like meetings and the feedback you've gotten, and I'm sitting here quietly trying not to talk because I never realized that once I start, I can't stop. Like I will start talking and then it just doesn't stop. Like I say it because I don't always feel like I'm controlling it. It just keeps talking forever. So I will forcibly be like, listen, you can't talk yet. No, listen, 5 more minutes before you can say something. Because once I do, I just won't stop. And it's really hard to pull back. So if I'm sitting here quietly, I'm just awkwardly wondering if I'm talking too much. So that's what I have learned.
I've had that same experience too. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Heather, since you are talking, and I know how much you love talking about your FI. Do you want to share a little bit about what it's like for you to have that feminine FI, or would you rather just coast right past that?
I'll touch on it briefly, but honestly, it's probably the hardest thing for me. I was listening to everybody talk about their what they're doing with FI, and I'm like, yeah, that's too much for me. Like right now, I feel like I'm very much in the trying to see when I'm actually doing it without realizing I'm doing it. Because every now and then I'll be communicating it, usually unfortunately through TE, but I'm trying to realize when there's FI happening, because I tend to immediately pull out the big guns of masculine TE, like I'm not doing this. And so I tend to get loud, or I don't say the mean thing I'm thinking, but sometimes it comes out and I'm like, oh wait, I've got something else happening. And so I'm just trying to recognize it. I have a little sign up here and I'm going to be done after this, but can you read it?
Don't yell. I can't see the rest of
it. It says, don't yell when you really need to cry.
Oh, that's really good.
And it's up here on my desk because, yeah. So I'm going to stop talking before I cry so we can move on to the next one.
I feel like that should be the MTE mantra.
Seriously.
That's so good.
Don't yell when you need to cry. I love that.
Yeah, that's really good.
Does anybody else want to share? I mean, Monica, I don't think we've heard very much from you yet.
Yeah, I was just thinking about how I think for a while, so I spent a lot of time in a tribe that was very FE, and I learned how to speak FE and how to do the FE thing. Oh, I will do the FE thing. Okay, that's fine. And I think in that I really so I knew I was, I didn't know I was TE, but I knew that FE was foreign, and I had to kind of okay, I can try to do this feminine FE thing, which always just felt so awkward and strange. It's just oh my gosh, hold on for a few more minutes. Right?
I am so impressed that you did that. FE is I can't do it for very long. So yeah.
But I think, when it's part of your culture, okay, well, it's maybe not what I was born with, but it's all around me. So I'm oh, okay, I have to do this to survive, and I have to do this to be effective in this group or whatever. So okay. And I think kind of jumping in between there, I was sort of skipping over my FI and thinking that doing the FE was FI, or thinking that, well, that's what I want, or that's what I value because that's what everybody else values. Right. But then very much feeling there was this big void there. And I said in some video at some point, someday my autobiography will be marked by my FI tidal waves of it'll be those are the big things in my life where I'm just the big defining things. They can be little tidal waves for sure, and I'm sure you guys are all familiar with that, but for me there's every few years there's a big FI thing.
So now that you've become conscious of it, that it is your FI, does it how has that affected what you understand? Is it more now that because it sounds like you were, even though it was exhausting, you were able to do the FE. So is it now easier because you can narrow that in into you see the spectrum of what the tribe is valuing, and you can be well, what of that do I value? Is it easier, or is it kind of the opposite where it's this whole new thing you have to discover?
That's a good question. I think it is a little harder actually, because I just kind of skipping over that. has gone to like, okay, well, but like I have to keep telling myself like it's okay for me to have this FI, like to have my own values.
Permission.
To like, yes, yeah. Like I have to keep like giving like daily, like giving myself permission to value just what I value because I value it. Like that's like what? So, you know, and the that's I think I mean I obviously didn't do it the other way, so I don't know which way is harder, but I feel like this was not, you know, not the best way to land where I am, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, I wonder, because we've got a few EJs and then we've got a few double deciders and even demon TE here. I wonder if that shows up slightly different depending on where that FI is. Because I like when you were telling your story about the the wedding planner conference that you were at, and you suddenly were like, "Oh my God, this is not for me." You know, I was like, I can relate to that, but like a mini version. Like I've never had like a career type overthrow of my FI, but I've had like hobbies or you know, activities that I'm in, and then suddenly I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore, like you know, martial arts classes or other things where I've just, but it's always been like on the hobby front. And well, I guess FI is in that third position, that weird.
Well, I have double activated FI second in a stack, and I've had that kind of reaction with everything I've ever chosen to do with my life. Literally, I've chronically stopped every school I've started because I hated it. I just didn't know it. It took me over a year to realize that I hated what I did. And it can be, I think it's also depending on how developed you are. Like I'm super slow. I'm closer to 30 than 20, and I'm only starting now, so
That's fine. Yeah.
I think too the EJs, like, I mean, I see like Shan, like, because I think Shan and I are the only EJs on this call. Is that right?
Anita.
Oh, and Anita.
Yeah.
And Anita. So, and maybe I actually am curious if this is true for you, Anita, also, but there's like this needing to kind of be in service to the tribe. So, you know, okay, well, FE, and I'll try to do the FE thing because it's like, it's all about kind of what everybody else is needing.
Right.
Rather than, you know, kind of being a little bit more balanced with those functions. Do you relate to that, Anita?
About doing the FE thing? Yes, because I have 4 daughters. One of them is pretty sure she's an ENFJ, and I have such great admiration for FE, you know, largely because of her. And I find myself constantly using tons of emojis, exclamation points, and trying to be, you know, Sam Sheepdog can't really be too happy clappy, but I'm kind, you know, I try to use those mannerisms quite a lot because if I don't, then it rattles her, and I do, and I can empathize with that because I get rattled when people are upset too. It's just, you know, in a TE way, which is a lot different. So, but yeah, I think in the Facebook group, I use more emojis in my comments than anybody else because I'm trying, because I like I need to make sure that, you know, my T isn't being too T, so I'll make sure.
You know, I've noticed that I do too, and I'm like, I don't. What is? And I feel like it's my feminine FI, coming out of like, well, I'm kidding.
Right.
Yes. And even at work, if I'm asking, if it's an email where I'm asking somebody for help or whatever, I'll make sure to put, you know, that my thanks has an exclamation point. You know, things like all those little nuances. I kind of can get a little bit worried about to make sure that I'm FE enough, because, and then I've really but thanks to OP, and you know, and also my daughter, I just really like the FE people so much, and how that, and so in the past I used to get really irritated if they'd say smile.
God. I had like a physical reaction.
Me too. But now I have a much better understanding of where that's coming from, because they can't feel happy if I'm not looking fake happy. So I have a little bit more a lot more understanding of FE now, and then also with 4 kids and all the teachers that they've had, and interacting with a lot of FE people. I just think it's such an awesome function. So
I really relate to, I think you said fake, and I couldn't contain my laughter
yes.
because I have an FE smile when I go out into the world and I have to talk to teachers, and I love my grandma to death. I like, even in this, like, even moving from MBTI into OP, I'm still convinced she's an ESFJ. I think she's got feminine FE. I just realized today that I know somebody that from when I grew up that has masculine FE, like personally. And like, so I was having this huge revelation about it earlier when I was driving, talking to my partner about it, because it was the first person in my real life that I could attach that masculine FE to. And it totally like opened up new understandings for me, which was cool. But I have that fake FE smile because my grandma was extremely involved in my life when I was growing up. My mom, I think, is a TI, but she was a single mom, and like I spent probably 5 to 6 nights a week at my grandma's house, all of us together. So like I had that kind of trained in me from when I was young. But I will literally go out into the world and I leave, and literally, like, as I walk out the door, I will like take off my FE mask,
right,
and like go back. It feels like unhooking that fake smile almost that I have learned to do. But yeah, I definitely really, I do also think my youngest daughter has FE. She's really little, but like just her mannerisms and like, it's different from me, but it's very obviously DE in a way my other kids aren't. And it's really fascinating the way she reacts to my TE, or the way she reacts to criticism or whatever. Like, I definitely think she's got FE. So even as little as she is, I'm trying to learn, like, if I just smile at her, she will suddenly get happy, even if she's in a bad mood or whatever. If I smile really big and say something sweet, she's instantly in a better mood. And I'm like, oh God, it's FE. Like,
Wow.
That's really interesting. Yeah, when my son was younger, I noticed that the more you smiled at him like that, like the more he would be like, don't. Like the absolute opposite. So like, yeah, people are so used to doing that to babies. And so like they would come up to my son and they would be like, hi. And he's like,
Yeah. That's how I still react to people. Like when they come up to me like, how are you today? Oh God, not.
Yeah, we're totally speaking from a TEFI axis, calling it fake at all, right? I mean, I'm sure if we had an actual FE person in this, they'd be like, that's not fake.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's
That's
fake to
important.
us.
Sharing. Yeah. Oh
No,
yeah.
it only feels fake.
Yeah, exactly.
Since I am from a different culture, and we are generally way more introverted than Americans.
Yeah.
And very much more heavy on T generally. So to me, FE is like super alien. It's like someone comes to me with real FE, I'm like, oh my God, what's happening? Please go away. What's wrong with you? Because you don't see that much here.
Yeah.
Like, there is a lot of memes about things, and most of them are true. We literally don't speak to each other on bus stop or buses or trains anywhere. We keep like 10-meter distance to each other at all times. It's a cultural thing also. So it makes it even harder when you have to access that. You've gotten used to certain kind of environment. And there are local differences even in Finland. So you find very FE people from some hidden parts of the country.
Sorry, mute yourself while you.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
There you go.
Thanks. Sorry, Minna.
I completely relate, Minna. Every time I've gone to Europe, it's like everyone seems to be very comfortable that we don't talk, and that's cool. And I'm like, yes, thank you. Like I'm so used to like walking down the street and like you're like supposed to like I'll be like walking like this, and then somebody walks by, I'm like, okay, I gave the smile. But like in Finland, they're like, and in Europe in general, it's like,
no, in Finland you're the weird one. If you
yes, don't
I'm
do that.
doing that, and everybody thinks I'm super weird. Everybody thinks do you have a medication on or something? You've been really weird lately.
Right. It feels like authenticity is so important to them. Please do not smile at me if you are not feeling the vibe, you know? It's just, I guess that's kind of how I took it from Europe in general. They seem to make fun of the Americans and they're like, hello, sir. It's like, stop it, you know?
Yeah, and it's funny if I've been dealing with Americans before a few times. And the thing I keep hearing is, you're so authentic. I'm just, nah, that's like, everybody here is like that. It's not me.
Right. That's really good.
I think that brings up an interesting question. One thing that I've noticed, so Monica, earlier you were saying how you, for a large chunk of your life, you were in the space where you had to FFE for a long time and how taxing and exhausting it was for you. One thing I've noticed about myself is that when I also, much of my life right now is a lot of FFE. And when I go back to my family, and we all, with the exception of my mom, have masculine tribe, masculine FE or masculine TE. And it's like I can breathe easy because I can let that punchiness fly free and know that everyone can give as good as they get. And so it's like, it's easier because I can be more of my authentic self and I don't have to pull my punches as much anymore.
Right.
So I was wondering if anybody else has had that kind of experience, or like, how do you navigate that, like, you know, having that masculine TE where much of our environment, well, there's struggles that come with it.
Right. Yeah, I definitely have to play that game a lot. I mean, just speaking on the videos and stuff like that, I have to be able to play the game of like letting myself punch. We call it like changing gears. So like Donald Trump is a really good example of somebody who doesn't change gears and therefore he freaks out everybody around him, right? Because he'll go into his saviors and stay there and just kind of like keep the pedal to the metal. And so like we kind of use that as a really good example of like, okay, where am I doing that? How much am I doing that? Am I straight just in my savior's truck rolling down a hill, you know? So like, especially on the videos or anytime I'm talking to people in real life or anything like that, like if I'm just stuck in savior mode, I'm now burning out the engine, period. Like I'm just really burning out the engine. So even though it feels good, like it feels so good, if I could just say it as aggressively as possible, like I'll see like certain videos that will come out and I'll have no idea that I was in a more aggressive state than a happy, positive, dopey state. And I'm like, ah, shit, I wasn't changing gears, you know, like having to practice from going to being in an intense mode and then kind of like breaking the gear and switching. Just, okay, it's been 20 minutes or it's been 10 minutes. How is my state? Am I still in this aggressive state or have I switched back? Because you can feel it as soon as you start going with the masculine TE, that almost like people's ears only have so much to be able to like listen to it because it's such a sharp, intense function. So it's like, how can I even soften my voice or laugh or pull back, change the subject? Like, what can I do to somehow break up the intensity of that, you know? So it's like, I don't know, almost a timer thing. And then just being way more self-aware of even the sound of my voice and how intense it can be, you know, just playing that game.
I feel that too. And I think I'm scared that I don't know how to mitigate that, how to balance it. When is too much? When is it too much? So I just don't.
Right.
So I'll just like
say nothing. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Like I'm just not going to even get started here because I don't know where the breaks are.
So true. I've seen that a lot. I've seen that so much with our type, anyone with masculine TE. It's like, we'll get to the point where you see the world as such an abrasive place because when you come out, you're punching. And then it's like, I'm just going to go back in a corner and back in a corner even more. Like it took me a long time when I first met Dave to start accepting, because I was a wedding photographer. Like you can't be a wedding photographer and be like, all right, let's get it moving. Let's go. You know, like you can't, because now everyone's like, okay. And then you go click and they're going, you know, you have to be FE. And I'm like, but I'm not, you know, but you have to be that way. And so it was like, when I met Dave, I was like, every email I wrote to my clients was like, okay, XOXO, lots of loves. And it just super like to a ridiculous degree. And I realized like, he's like, yes, have that side, but like start accepting that you are an aggressive bitch. And I'm like, oh,
Okay.
that was so hard. Like that was the hardest part, was to accept the darkness, because I'm like, but I don't want to be that way. I don't want to be seen as aggressive. Like, I'm a female, I'm supposed to be soft and flowery. Right? Like how annoying that is. I hate that. Why can't female and aggressive be okay, you know?
I think that's the part that for myself, I have struggled with the most, is that if I were a man, that darkness would be embraced by society. But because it's not, I've been called aggressive and assertive and all of these other things that, you know, on the one hand, make me a really great leader. I get shit done. But on the other hand, is also like in my my relationships in life, that unless I'm letting somebody see that FFI, they just get met with this MTE, like smacked in the face.
Totally.
And it's really hard to soften it.
Yeah. I would say the more you can accept that darkness, the more you can openly share the light without the fear or the embarrassment. The thing that has changed everything for me, because it was like, because I don't accept the darkness, that when it came, it was a blow up. That's it. I've had it. I'm done. Get me out of here. Run away. That I can't handle it. No, leave me alone. Everybody leave me alone. I'm sorry. I don't want to deal with this. And it was just an extreme, because I couldn't manage that I had been seen as an aggressive bitch, and that's not who I want to be. So you don't know me. You don't really know the real me, you know? The more I'm like, you know what? I am all the way on this side. I'm a crazy bitch. I hate that. But you know what? That's okay. That brings power as well. That brings a lot of power. And if I can harness that intensity and own it, then I can also start sharing this extremely vulnerable side and also own that. And the thing that I let go of, the thing that I still have to let go. It's not like it just is gone for good, but I let go of, you know what? That means that like, I'm going to have a lot of people hating me. And that's what I wasn't willing to go through. Yeah. I was like, but if I'm me, that means the real people who can see me and like my dark and my light, that I can truly be at one with them in my tribe. And I was like, oh, so I would enjoy it more. I would actually enjoy them more and love them more because they can see my bitch side and my soft side. Oh, okay. Because I've been playing a weird game of not ever really connecting with people because I'm having to play this fake game, and therefore never really actually having a real true connection. The more somebody can see your dark, they're not now going, you got darkness under you and I got to stand back because I see there's a pit bull under there and you're not willing to talk about it. And it's that like false front that people will be like, don't get close to that one, you know? And the more you're like, here I am. Yep, I'm aggressive. I own it. And I'm going to share my soft side and also not demand that you reciprocate. And I'm okay with that. Like I was talking to Minna about this. I was telling her on the phone, like the first time I talked to her phone, I'm like, just so you know, I really like you. And she was like, okay. I'm like, no, I really like you. Like, okay. Like, I like you. All right. See ya.
Like it's real. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, if she were like, but I don't like you, I'd be like, oh, well, I still like you. See ya. And like getting to that point where I'm not having to have a wall because I'm like, I like you. Next. And not fearing that vulnerability might get stomped. I was like, who fucking cares? I'm aggressive on this side and I'm light on this side. Therefore, whoever makes it past that intense, crazy bitch can truly be connected to me in reality. And I'm not going to be able to do it any other way, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, how many amens?
For my
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
It's like when someone posts in our Facebook group, which is only like 3 days old, everybody's like, same. Yeah, that's really good, Shan.
So I have a question. You keep talking about owning the darkness, and in MBTI, before I came in, I had done a lot of what on earth is my type? I can't figure it out. You know, I feel like a lot of people have done that. And the one that I settled on, which is really funny now, is INFP. I had finally seen that FI.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I'm this like gentle, breakable like creature, right? Okay, that sounds right. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
And so I came in and I was like, as I was reading it, I was like, I don't think I don't have it, but that doesn't sound like me. But TE and MBTI is like, oh my God, it's like the best, like it's the God function. And I'm like, couldn't possibly be that, right? Except now I'm learning all the drawbacks to it. But but I posted in the group a lot. And I genuinely was like trying to listen to people's feedback, and everybody who tried to type me picked blast or play. And I would say 90% of them were TE, and all of them were pretty much masculine. Like it was very much the other way. And so like I literally like I had to sit down and I was like, so I'm gonna have to like try that on. Like what if everybody else is right? Because I was watching all these videos where your guys like, you can't see yourself, and I'm like, oh my God, what if that's really who I am? And I feel like I've had to go through a process of like, you're talking about embracing the darkness, and I don't know if this is what you mean or if maybe it's just a same spectrum thing, but I feel like I've had to give myself permission to use my saviors, because I have always reined them in so much, because you know, the world might be ST and they might want what I can do, but they don't necessarily want that heavy hitting, you know, double masculine SETE that I've got there.
Right.
And so I feel like I've had to give myself permission to embrace what my saviors are, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Totally makes sense.
So you're basically just asking about like owning your darkness. And I would say there's many ways to own your darkness for sure. The first one would be allowing yourself to triangulate and see what other people are seeing in you. So yeah, that would be number one. Because a lot of times people will hold on to a view that they have of themselves, which is, you know, going off of the subjective mind of this resonate, like going off of this resonates to me. That's kind of like number one thing that we see a lot. And then also the hugest thing I keep seeing is like being able to accept the patterns that you see in others and know that that's happening to you as well. Because our brains are designed to see the light. It wants to see the light and then also know darkness. And so if you're going through and you're seeing a lot of bad in yourself, it's like your brain goes and tries to scar it, to heal it, almost like it got cut. Like, oh, whoops, you shouldn't have seen that. And it'll go to like erase it and bring it down into the unconscious, just kind of like wipe it clean. So you can keep going. You can keep moving on your day. The problem is if we keep staying addicted to the light. Oh, I want to have a happy day. I want to have a happy week. I want to make everybody happy. I want there to be no negativity. Then you just go through it again and again and again and again. It's a demanding of light, where you demand all the light in your life, that starts causing all kinds of problems, because the universe wants to give you both. And we accept both dark and light when it comes to TE. When it comes to our saviors, we accept both dark and light. When it comes to our demons, we don't accept it. We don't accept it. And especially like if you have a demon FI, we're not going to accept any negative feelings ever in our identity. Nope, nope, nope. If somebody is looking at us and not valuing us, like trauma, instant, you know, and it's almost like an instant reaction. So being able to accept, here's kind of how I talk about it. Here's how I see the analogy in my mind. I was telling somebody this on the phone the other day. So you're on a river, right? And you're on a floaty thing. You're floating down the river. And it's like you're sitting there and life is going by and it's kind of light. And then a swarm of sharks come up and they start biting you on your arms. And that's negativity. Somebody says, you know, you really sucked on XYZ, or somebody gives you some sort of form of negative FI in some way, shape, or form. And it's a bite, a shark bite. And our natural reaction as the masculine TE is to start flailing and punching and freaking out. And the more you flail and punch and freak out and move, the sharks start frenzying and they eat you alive, and now you're dead. And now you have to start that over. Like, okay, jump onto another river, level over, you died, right? The way to be able to start managing it is accepting that life comes with 95% negativity in your saviors as well as your demons. And the demons are like, no, I will accept only 95% light and maybe 5%, and I will blow that 5% way out of proportion, you know? So if you think of it like that, and then you go back to the river, and now you're floating on the river, and the sharks come and they bite you again. And you take a deep breath and you go, shit, okay, I'm flooded with chemicals, which usually means my whole brain got fuzzy, and now it's time to punch with my masculine TE. Who's responsible, right? And taking the deep breath and starting to let yourself kind of sit in it, sit in the negative, toxic, just cortisol pumping through your blood. Just being like, all right, I can just, it's just a bee sting, you know, I can flow with this. And then the sharks bite, they don't smell any more energy, and they flow. They go right on by. They're like, no energy here. And it's like accepting that 95% negativity is going to happen. It's going to happen. They're going to bite you. You're going to get bit. And the more you can just be like, I can manage the darkness here, just like I can manage the darkness in, you had a shitty idea. Oh no, you had a shitty idea. That's fine. Toss next. I can go and get as many ideas as I want. Ping, 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 ping. I can figure it out. I can trust myself to figure it out. Yeah, but you're getting negative FI. Oh shit. Let it flow. And then you start being able to build tolerance. And that's where I would say that's when you're like, oh, I accept the dark and I accept the light. Therefore it's balanced, not extreme, you know, because then you're just swinging when you get the shark bites and they take you over. So yeah, I guess long explanation for, you know, light and dark.
Well, and one other thing to add to that was really good, but one other thing I was thinking of is it also helps if you can find a safe space to go ahead and feel feelings. Like Dave
Absolutely.
talks about that, having a crying practice and stuff like that. Because I think like where I struggle is when, because, you know, feminine FI, it's going to move, and their negativity is going to come. And I always do worse when it's game time, real life, and I'm getting hit with it. And so that's why you practice, right? I mean, that's what we say to sports and martial arts and training. It's like you train so that when you're in the ring, you can fight. And so if you're in the ring and you've never trained, and now here comes this stuff, this sharks, it's like, holy crap, I haven't trained for this, and I'm in the ring right now. So that's my advice too, is like carve out some time, a little safe space, little, you know, something like in my case, a lot of times it's in the car on the way home or something, and let it go. Like that's when you have to go ahead and let that negativity, and sometimes you might have to like manufacture it a little bit. Especially for those of us with sleep last, like we naturally don't go back and review our known information. So you have to like bring that stuff up, but at least it gives you that practice, that training to go through it. Yeah.
That is so good. Yeah, absolutely. I would say like carving out some time, carving out a repetitive time to process, to cry energy. Absolutely. And then a safe space is really good. So like you're saying like basically getting hit in the moment.
Yeah. Because in the moment, it's harder, you know, because you haven't trained, especially if you haven't trained for it, you know, and then you get hit in the moment and it's like, I don't know how to handle this because I always push that away and I don't ever deal with it. And now it's in the moment with your partner, with your kid, whatever.
Yeah.
And now here is this thing.
Yeah.
It's here now. Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. It's like, if you could get some like triggers to help yourself, like, okay, stand up. Like one thing I noticed too, if I'm sitting down, I don't do well. Cause then the physiology, I'll start like my shoulders will go in, I'll look down and I'll just get in a stuck state of like sad feelings only. It's like, if I can practice standing up and then moving around, you now start getting your blood pumping so the chemicals can move and flow. But I love, like you've talked about like your processing of doing sleep energy and stuff like that. Like I love hearing about that kind of stuff. You know, Evelyn does her, the songs and the music to consistently process, like just love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's, like I said, it gives me a practice run, if you will. So yeah.
Right. Really good.
Yeah,
That's so much better than like ending up crying at the grocery store because they're out of bananas.
Right? I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. But and exactly, that's so true.
Yeah.
One thing that I do when the emotions hit, when it's in the moment, and for whatever reason that moment is not the appropriate moment to start crying, I at the first opportunity I go use the bathroom let it
That's good.
cry for a few minutes, whatever, and then promise myself I will give myself that proper cry later on in the day when I get home or whenever it is more appropriate moment. And then I actually do that. So like for me, that has been really helpful in terms of like just acknowledging that like, okay, these emotions are coming up. Right now is not the appropriate time. So just like, I'm going to pause, but I am going to take care of you kind of thing. And that's, in terms of processing that FI, that's been really helpful. But my demon is the TE.
Yeah, that's really helpful. I mean, but it's like, I mean, just you saying that, I'm like, wow. Like the idea of, being able to like kind of stand apart from myself, you know, and have the presence of mind to say that, and then tell myself, okay, I'm going to deal with this later, and actually deal with it later, you know, like actually do the processing later,
Right.
which just later on doesn't seem like that. Was that really that big of a deal? Like, okay, whatever that was, I don't know, like keep going, you know? So yeah, hearing you say that, it's like, it's so simple. And so like for I think a lot of us who don't have that as a savior, it's so profound.
And I think that's where like the sleep processing time that like Evelyn was talking about, that she specifically makes time for sleep processing. That's when like you do go back, review the information. It's like, oh yeah, there was that time that I was nearly in tears over my like coworker saying that one thing that was completely irrelevant. Why was I so upset about that? And then giving the space, the why. Well, for me, it's why because I have NIFI for my sleep. But for other people, it might be SIFIs. Like, so what exactly happened? Was really, really powerful.
Right. It's really good.
I want to be mindful of the time. It's we've been chatting for about an hour, but there was one question, something that did come up, and I wanted to kind of gauge people's thoughts and also end on a more positive note, I guess. Talk about so much about how much power there is in MTE. And I was just wondering, in addition to some of that, what are your favorite things about having MTE? Like, in addition to the power, how do you see that power showing itself? Like, all that jazz.
That's really good. I could say something.
Go
I've been talking too much. But
I was gonna pick on Lindsay.
There you go.
Pick very on quiet Lindsay. In the middle.
Yes, there you go. Pick on Lindsay.
So I think for me, something that's really good about it is that, well, I work in a place that's very like NEFI, like it's like the quintessential NEFI establishment. And for me, the masculine TE, for like when we're having like a manager's meeting and everyone's NEFIing around, for me to come in with the clarity and just like the directness of, you know, well, what are we really looking to get out of this? And is that actually what's going to happen if we do it this way? And just like, you know, not so much like, well, this will be great, but just getting to the real sake of the clarity of the conversation, like honing everyone in on that clear point is really, it's been beneficial, like in my workplace. It's been beneficial to me personally because I'm like, I need some dang clarity on the situation. Like, can we just like hone it in right now? And I know that other people too, because, you know, you have the imbalance in the workplace sometimes, that other people really do end up appreciating it because they're like, okay, great, someone brought it in home, you know? So I think for masculine TE, the sake of that, we're willing to put it out there for the sake of clarity, and the communication is really, it's great to have.
Awesome. Anybody else want to jump in? I'm happy to. I think one of my favorite things, and I think this came up in the Facebook group at one point, one of my favorite things about masculine TE is that, at least for myself, I find it, I love the way that it shows itself where loyalty is concerned, where because I have that FFI, and I see this with other people as well, and I know what it feels like to be like a leaf in the wind, so reactive to everything in terms of, because the tribe is so immovable, that when I approach another person, or when I do have a relationship with that other person, there's an assumption that their identity is also so movable. So for those that I care about, when it, like, if I need, if there's a situation that comes up where I am speaking up on their behalf or something like that, that MTE will punch on behalf of somebody else's DI and protect them in that way. And I've had a lot of appreciation from the people in my life when that does come up. And I think that's kind of a fun way to use the MTE. Carefully, of course.
That's really good. That's really good. I love that. Becomes a defender, a protector.
Yeah. Instead of just only protecting ourselves,
Mm-hmm. Right.
which is what it's really good at.
Right.
I'm kind of curious, like, did any of you, like along these lines, did any of you get your type and go like, oh, I hate MTE? Like, cause really,
that's a really
like,
good question.
I'm like, yes, is it hard? And my FI wants to complain about it or whatever, but like, I'm like, actually, it's pretty great. I'm really glad I have it. Like, I wouldn't want to not be that.
I don't know.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's ruining my life at the moment.
Oh no.
Pretty much. So I knew I was masculine TE, feminine demon FI. That was something I was certain of before I got typed. And back in the day when I got familiar with MBTI, I tested that as an ENTJ, and I started crying because I didn't want to be an ENTJ. And I've had some trouble with it. I don't control my T very well, and I am very, very, very ST. I am straightforward among people who are generally straightforward. So I'm pretty extreme. So also the tribe validation game is very addictive. I literally have to contain myself in the Facebook groups and everything. I don't use social media because I get addicted to likes and everything. I'm just ridiculously addicted. So to me, it would be, I think once I get a handle on it, it will be amazing. But right now, not really. Not yet.
Yeah, that's good. That's fair.
Yeah, I understand.
Well, for what it's worth, in your interview, I loved the way that you were using your masculine TE. There were some really great moments there.
In English, do you understand how politely you guys speak? It's just, this language allows you to be polite even when you're not. You just say please or whatever, and you're automatically polite.
That's such a fascinating point. Oh man.
Yeah, so it's very easy to be polite in English. Try that in Finnish. We don't have any equal word for please, as an example.
Yeah,
it doesn't exist.
That's great.
So interesting.
I had figured out that I had masculine TE when I was like frantically trying to get my exact 512 type after I had submitted my typing video. I was like, I want to get it first. Like, I just want to know. I just want for myself, you know? And so I watched like 1 million hours of Tai Lopez. And so I was like, yeah, this is it. Like, I know it's definitely this. But shout out to Shannon, who saw it in my very first email. And like in their response video back, she's like, yeah, I knew. I saw your first, like, I saw Save Your Masculine TE in your very first email. And I was like, dang. But, you know, it's your function also. I think it's easier to recognize because you're like, oh, I know exactly what that is.
I related. Yeah, I totally related. You were talking about how like a girl came into your office and she was crying or something like that.
Yeah, I did not know what to do.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's so funny. Like, you were just like, okay. Like the feeling is like
it was traumatic for me to not be able to respond to someone who was like obviously the most upset they've ever been in their entire life, and I'm like, do something, and I couldn't, and I was like, oh gosh, I'm a horrible person.
Like, I can get you something with TE, but I cannot feel with you. I don't.
You need water.
Yeah, you need something. It reminds me of that one, like, have you ever watched 30 Rock where like she's like feeling sad and like throwing up in a toilet and he like takes a broom and is like, feel better.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Yeah.
feel
From
better.
a distance.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
That's been the like number one conflict between my sister and I. My sister, who is masculine TeEJ, and then me with my FFI. Like over our 30 years together, that's been the number one conflict. Is that like I'll come to her crying, and she's like, "Can't you just suck it up?"
Oh.
She won't actually say that, of course, but
Right.
Very hard.
Heather, Evelyn, Anita, did you guys want to talk about the like positives of MTE at all?
I have a lot to say, so I'm letting like Heather.
I told you at the beginning. If I'm quiet, that's why.
I mean, you and I have the same animal stack. So Anita, please.
Yeah, I like how I can outwork anybody and work so much more efficiently because I don't get caught up in the drama. I don't dilly-dally, get drawn into the chit-chat. Like Virsaviya was saying earlier, how men can get away with being more assertive. In my case, men can get away more with being the strong, silent type, whereas somebody like me will say, "You're too soft-spoken." That's not said about a man.
That's a
But my
really
strong, silent type, I have, attention, ASD, attention surplus disorder. My focus is very extreme, and I get so much done. My T, I really also like the left. It gives me the left and right brain aspect, where the left brain of, okay, this is how we're going to do it and get it done efficiently. Then the right brain is being a good listener to people. And it's happened. I like it a lot better when it's not served up with a side helping of feels, like what Lindsay was saying.
Right. Yeah.
If I can just focus on solving your problem and processing as they're talking to me, without having to deal with, mopping up their feels, that helps a lot. So, so it adds a lot of value to the people. My TE adds a lot of value to the tribe around me in those particular ways.
Yeah, I want to thank you for that strong silent type thing, because I've never put that together, but you are so right there. Like you are right. I have an employee. Well, one thing, I have an employee who's very similar, like energetically to you, and like you're exactly right that strong silent type is accepted for men, but for women it's a different matter. So go on.
As Shannon was talking about, how she owns her bitchy side, and then whereas I'm owning my strong silent side. Like a couple of weeks ago, I completely ignored my team because I had so much work to do on this really important project. I was getting, I get to work at 6 a.m. People are trickling in. I'm not saying good morning. I've got my headphones on. Spreadsheets, infographics, just complete focus. And I let myself be okay with that until finally on Friday, one of my coworkers said, "Oh, I really like your Vans high tops." Like, okay, I'll sit and chat with her.
Now I want to see them. Like, ooh, what? I love Vans. Yeah. That's great. I love that.
So giving myself permission to be the strong silent type, whereas if a man is a strong silent type, people kind of hang on his every word, because when he does speak, it's like there are these commercials back when you guys probably weren't born yet. When E.F. Hutton talks, people listen, these commercials.
Yeah, exactly. Yes.
Yeah, whereas a woman is, "Oh, you're too soft spoken," So that's
that's great.
Evelyn, before you unleash it, I'm going to say one small thing.
Yeah, you should go.
So mine's kind of like an odd mix. Like it's a positive thing for me, but I feel like it's one of the things, like it's all on balance. So like with feminine FI, like I want to protect it with that masculine team. But for me in my life, like there's a period of time where I needed it to protect me. There was a situation that came up very suddenly in my life, and the fact that I made it through, and I don't want to say I made it through unscathed because it's far from it, but I made it through this situation without falling apart. I didn't. Evelyn, you're muted. It looks like you're talking, but maybe just agreeing.
No, I'm just like, preach, sister, preach. So that's why I'm on mute, because I would just be like, yes, that's what I'm doing. So I'll go back on. Yes.
but it is hard to not do that all the time. But when I needed it, that masculine TE got me through something worse than I ever could have imagined experiencing.
Right.
And it drug me through, like, I never once was I unable to like take care of my children. You know, one day it came close that I needed the help, but like, you know, in this horrific thing, like over the course of years, as I was dealing with the fallout from it, you know, I was able to drag myself through this and get on with it. And I really do think like the power and strength of TE was just like, you know what, right now I will crush you if you are allowed to do it. So we're just gonna not, and we're just gonna get shit done. and now like crawling out of the grasp of that is hard, but I really do think that masculine TE saved me when I needed saving.
Totally.
That's powerful. I don't even know if I have much to add to that, actually. I mean, that's incredible. And I think I've had similar experiences. You know, I had a period of 4 years that were just, a lot of people would say, oh my God, that's unimaginable. But it's like, that was my life. That was my reality. And I got through it. Like, to your point, it's like, you just do. And I think, like, for me, what I love about, I feel like in some ways I've gone all in on my savior a little bit. So like, usually that's a bad thing, but like, I love having masculine TE. Like, it is part of my identity, and part of like how I show up in the world and part of what I want to bring to the world. And so for me, it's like that's the reason I wanted to bring you guys together. That's the reason why I wanted a group for us, is like, to me, it's like, this is one of the most powerful functions that we can have. And I'm probably like, I know there's other functions and they're great, don't get me wrong, but I was hoping I would have masculine TE. Yeah, there's others. Maybe, supposedly. But, you know, I was kind of hoping I had it. I was like, I would be shocked if I didn't, because that's just how I am. Like, I got
it. Makes sense.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Yeah, it makes total sense. It's a powerhouse of a function. Yeah. So at first when you were talking about the dark side, I was like, but the dark side is what makes it great. But then I was like, I know where you're going with that, though. It's when we don't accept sort of some of the consequences and the downside of it. So it's like, with great power comes great responsibility.
I love it.
That's the way I always feel like we're all like superheroes in this. And so it's like, you've got a superpower, you got to be careful. You know?
So good.
Yeah.
It's so good.
Yeah.
That's great, Evelyn.
Any parting thoughts?
What Evelyn said.
And Heather too. Like, that was great.
all of
us. Yeah, I wrote down several things that a lot of people said. So thank you all for coming together and doing this. I think it was a great conversation. So I look forward to talking more and interacting more. Yeah.
There's when Shannon was talking about the darkness, there's this really great quote that popped into my head. I think it's from Dolly Parton.
I love her.
Find out who you are and do it on purpose.
And do it on purpose.
I love it.
That's so good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Great. Ooh, good.
Ladies, it was awesome talking to you.
Thanks so much for setting this up, you guys. This was fantastic. Love it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I will send a link to everyone once this is up on the YouTubes.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Bye. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
So that was our discussion. Want to share your thoughts? You can do so on the Objectively Typed subreddit. There will be a link in the show notes. And we'll also post our upcoming show topics. And if we're doing a typing episode, we'll post it there so you can type along with us. Let us know what you thought. Did this change your view of masculine TE at all? Did you learn something about what it's like to have that as a function? Are you now thinking, hey, maybe I have masculine TE? We'd love to hear what you thought of that. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, as well as if you have any feedback about the structure. Did you like this kind of roundtable discussion for an episode, or do you kind of like the more back and forth when it's just Evelyn and I, or any ways that we can improve, make it better? Any kind of feedback that you have, we'd love to hear it.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for listening to Objectively Typed with Evelyn
and Virsaviya.
And until next time.
Bye.
And scene.